The last seems not to have been heard of the internal wranglings within the main opposition People's Democratic Party, as the Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike has been firing from all cylinders. Speaking during a live media chat for over 2 hours in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital, Wike dared the national leadership of the People's Democratic Party to suspend him if they so desire and be ready for the consequences. But he insists he will not leave the People's Democratic Party for anyone, no matter what happens. Now, Governor Nyesom Wike wondered why the former PDP Board of Trustees chairman will be pressured to resign, and the PDP National Chairman, Senator Yocha Ayu, is excusing himself from same. And this is all coming after his group all vowed not to be part of the Atiku Presidential Campaign Council. Let's listen to him.
What? The issue as it is today is, and as it is provided in our constitution of the party, section 73C, makes it clear that there shall, not that there may, there shall be zoning of party offices and elective offices. Very clear. It was not. It's not ambiguous. It's not ambiguous. It is made clear that this is what is supposed to be, or what should be done. We have had our primaries, and the presidential candidate have emerged. But before a presidential candidate emerged, there was the issue of where would the chairmanship go to? Because in our party, the chairman comes from either the south, and the president candidate come from north, or the president candidate come from the south, and the chairman will go to the north. The intention of the founding fathers was that to allow for inclusivity, for everybody to participate in the hierarchy of decision making of the party. Because as it is today, 3 major persons are those who take decision of the party. One is the national chairman, one is the presidential candidate, or the president and if you have power. And then the DG of the campaign. These are 3 key positions that oversee the runnings of the party and major decisions being made on how the party will move forward. Now, we from the south, before now, we had met and said, look, the presidency must come to the south.
All right, Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike there, accusing the national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, of corruption, and he's alleging that IU collected 1 billion naira to compromise the party's presidential primary. But of course, the PDP's presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, has branded Wike's statement as uncharitable and warned him to steer clear of fighting a non-existent war. Now, the development in the PDP drew a sneer from the campaign council of the All Progressives Congress presidential candidate Bola Tinubu. The APC is calling Atiku the divider-in-chief of the PDP for what it perceives as his inability to resolve the crisis. Now, with these allegations and counter-allegations coming at a time, one would have thought the PDP would unify itself and give the governing APC a run for its money. What are the chances of the PDP at the polls? Well, joining me to discuss all of this, I have Professor Ikechukwu, and then, of course, Chijioke Agu, all here. Professor Ikechukwu is a political strategist, columnist, and a renowned voice within the political scene. And, of course, Chijioke Agu is a 3-term commissioner in Enugu State. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. And I start with you.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Ikechukwu. What do you make of all of these things in the PDP in the midst of, calls for last-minute reconciliation before campaigns begin on September 28th? Does it look like that Atiku can't really resolve this issue, or what exactly needs to be done?
It may not be fair to just declare upfront that he cannot resolve it, but there are concerns as to whether he can. My take is simple. The PDP is not behaving like a party that's preparing for even a local government election, not to talk of a national election. And you know, yes, there were controversies surrounding the party primaries, no question about that. But controversies always surround party primaries. The indication and clear evidence of leadership is the ability to resolve it. Now, these are primaries that took place more than 2 months ago. And there's nowhere the thing is not coming nearer to resolution. So 2 things are on the table and that are at stake. Number 1, the cohesion and the focus of the PDP, and then the credibility, viability, respectability of the candidate as leader. The issues are fairly clear. He has taken his position. Look, these are the provisions of our constitution. I won't quarrel about that. But I will ask, at the close of the elections in 1999, was it not Obasanjo's intervention that led to the Senate seat coming to the Southeast, based on an evaluations? IU says, no, I won't resign. He has a right to say that, but that's where statesmanship comes in. I asked the candidate. I say, yes, this is what the Constitution says, but, I mean, because how many months does he have? Based on ABCD, unfortunately, with the clear understanding of the serving chairman, these are the steps we need to take. I tell you from my own point of view, Atiku's failure to take this step puts a lot of question marks on everything, because if anything, the party has been getting progressively more divided as the days go by, with embarrassing revelations. He has constituted his campaign council, isn't it? The presidential campaign organization, who is heading it? Tambuwal. Now, who was it that stepped down for him? Tambuwal. Where is Tambuwal from? The north. Where is you from? The north. So you should pay attention as leader, using emotional intelligence to sensibilities, not always the letter of the law. You can validate the letter of the law and say that there's an in-house consensus on the basis of which we are doing this. You are not violating the law. You're expressing leadership. And the vehemence is unhelpful. He's the only one who stands to lose something here. And you further divided it by, like I said, who is heading the campaign organization? That in itself is a showstopper.
Okay.
Deliberate lack of political intelligence, if you ask me.
Okay. Deliberate lack of political intelligence, like you have said, and Atiku said to be an experienced politician. Now, let's talk about this vituperations from Nyesom Wike at this point in time. Is there anything that PDP can do? I mean, I saw this headline on one of the national dailies today. PDP begs Nyesom Wike. It's obvious that he's, sending some home truths and something needs to be done. What is that thing that can be done between now and Wednesday before the campaign starts?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. I will just want to say that this is a period to actually congratulate the PDP and the candidates of the PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Reason being simple. His Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State, came out yesterday to show that he's a mole in the party. All the events that have preceded this period, looking for concessions, looking for who to remove and all that, my good friend here from the APs has even just confirmed to me now that why they can't remove the chairman is all part of that calculated plot to weaken the PDP and put us in a process where we are trying to solve internal issues while campaigns are going on. But thankfully, for the wisdom of our candidate, if you listen to his press statement the other day, he made it very clear that we have moved on. We have moved on. And people want to join the boss can join. Wike is actually just a sore loser who, from evidence we gather around, wasted over 35 billion of Rivers State money on a free-for-all Father Christmas wanting to be president of Nigeria.
Some of those monies actually went into your party, the PDP.
You have evidence to that effect. I'm sorry, wanting to be president of Nigeria, right? And his actions of recent, come on, has shown what would have been the fate of the PDP if peradventure a tendency like Nyesom Wike became our presidential candidate. God works in mysterious ways. Yesterday, he just clearly showed that he's working for the APC. The agenda is simple.
You think he's not fighting for justice in your party?
No. Why he can't be just...
When you have the presidential candidate from the north, the national chairman from the north, and director general of the campaign from the north, isn't it enough
I'll come to that.
To be concerned about?
I'll come to that. Let us leave symbols. The PDP is the only organic party in Nigeria. Nobody owns the PDP. His Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State, made an attempt to own the PDP. It's the resistance of that ownership. That's what you're seeing. Okay? Well, there have been times in the history of PDP where we've had people across the same lines running for elections. And it's never been a problem. We don't even want to talk about, in the history of the PDP, what the share of the North has gotten in the history of the PDP. We're talking about governance. Apart from this prevaricating APC government that is 7.5 years, the North hasn't even ruled Nigeria for more than 2 years under the PDP. So the South, we're very happy with Atiku Abubakar as our candidate. And we are all putting everything in motion to ensure that we face issue-based campaign. We're not going to be drawn back by vituperations of characters like people that will join the train.
I can see that Dr. wants to add something there. I mean, what do you make of that? I mean, this is a loyal party member from
clearly, desperately loyal. And I like his sense of engagement. He said, remember he said his friend from APC, implying that I'm from APC. Let me tell you my view on APC. Since independence, we've never had more incompetent leadership.
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering when you didn't even deny that.
I didn't go that. I don't have to.
You're not
Everybody knows my public engagement.
Those are the issues.
You know, so now, that's on one side. On the other side, the PDP. When Secondos became chairman after the PDP lost, there was a what do you call it, a retreat organized here for the party on political opposition. I was the first person, all of them, all the parties in Ekweremadu were seated there. Template for political opposition. Among other things, every quarter, give a State of the Nation address. Every lousy policy, give a counter to it. Look, PDP will have been a star even within the first year. In my view, and I may be mistaken, PDP was a superbly incompetent opposition party, just content to make press releases. Oh, we don't like this. PDP could have prepared the takeover long before now.
Do you think, sorry to interject there, do you think that Atiku Abubakar going out of the country and leaving the party may have contributed?
No, I'm coming to that. I'm taking those three things. Now, so that's it. So the PDP had a chance to do that. Atiku contested and left. First, he got a ticket and left for a long time, then came back. Then all of that. After 2 years after that election, he had 10 spokespersons. How many of them was he in contact with? But leaving all that to come into the issues of the moment, Wike versus the PDP, I have no opinion on Wike as a person. I will not describe him in derogatory terms because he's expressing his democratic right. I will also not subscribe to the argument that symbols don't matter. Symbols matter. That's why the Romans, when they're going to war, they carry the standard. Once you see it, you know your general is still up. Symbols matter, and the crisis is about symbols. And for me, let symbols go. Let us get the presidency. Okay. That is more strategic. That's evidence of leadership. And when those who are part of the problem, as perceived by those who don't agree with Atiku, are seen to be progressively more visible, and Atiku himself, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar himself, is arguing that, look, and he's correct about the Constitution, and there is only Ayu that can resign. Two things. Did Ayu publicly say he will resign? Yes. You can't hold him if he says, look. But so there are no council of elders in a family who can say, my son, you're correct. But you see, if you quarrel with Andrew and you win, you quarrel with Angela, you win, you quarrel with Adamu, you win. We'll say it's not your fault, but we'll tell you, it looks like you're fond of quarreling. That's what the PDP should worry about.
He had said that he will only resign if the party asks him to resign. But this time around, the party gave him a vote of confidence. So
good.
What will you do?
And so,
coming here briefly, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate his comments and all that. You must understand that there's something called equity and justice. And when you're coming to it, you come with clean hands. I want to first of all debunk one assertion. Some Wike is not fighting a Southern agenda.
Did I say he was?
I'm not
okay, you're not quoting me.
I'm not quoting him. He's fighting an agenda for himself. Because even the Atiku Abubakar we're talking about as our candidate today, is on paper, he said it. that you don't zone presidency to the south in PDP. If you want to zone president, you zone it to the southeast. Because the southeast and northeast have never produced president. Just some we can say wearing red cap and claiming, thinking that southeast is Igbo. Southeast are the 5 southeast states.
So he was trying to play smart by half.
Unfortunately, like what I tell you, it's just a sore loser. Because he deprived the southeast of the opportunity to provide the presidential candidate of the PDP. That is why one of our brightest people, like let's say Peter Obi, had to leave the party for him. So when we sits down,
what are they thinking that
when we sits down
it had
today,
been zoned to the southeast, someone like Obi couldn't have emerged.
Yeah, well, at least we have an array of stars in the southeast. Anyemi is there. There's many people who contested the election. So come on. And the good thing was that handshake across the Niger was going to happen. Because people like Atiku Abubakar, Aminu Tambuwal, Bukola Saraki and all, they were all ready to allow that concession go to the southeast. Governor of Rivers State ganged up with a few of his cohorts, who are also his fellow governors, and decided that it wasn't going to happen. It was going to be zoned to the south. All that with a clear agenda of wanting to grab the ticket for himself.
And is there anything wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. But 2 people cannot be the president. After the whole process, somebody came out victorious.
Observation.
If you're a good party man, if you're a good party man, just like so many people lost elections, lost their primaries, both from House of Assembly, House of Reps, senatorial, governorship, and presidential elections too. It wasn't the only candidates on the ballot.
Quickly, before I bring Dr. Oke back into the conversation, Wike has dared the PDP to sanction him if it feels like for anti-party activities, as he's been hearing from some sources. Do you think your party has the capacity to do that at this moment?
Well, I might not be able to speak for the PDP, because I'm not an executive member of the PDP.
But you're a member?
Yes. I mean, we've entrusted decision-making to a certain level, because we obey laws, okay? I will not be able to speak for them. But I'm certain about something. The candidate of the party has said that the peace process is open. Anybody who wants to join can join, but the campaign must go on. So we're not going to allow those distractions, right, to be able to, because that's the design. The design is to keep us busy trying to solve the Wike problem while other parties are getting mileage. That is why I tell you that he's a mole in the party.
All right. Well, he has raised a very critical point there. Wike is a mole, and then the idea is to keep distracting Atiku Abubakar until...
There's another thesis which will frighten him. That Atiku Abubakar is deliberately disorganizing the PDP so that APC will win because he's been briefed on the need for the presidency to remain in the north. Silly, isn't it? But that's a view out there. Totally silly, if you ask me. He can't be putting all this energy, but that's the kind of thing.
Well,
so
ask the question, I answered it.
I answered it, yes. I say it's silly. I don't believe it. Now, the same thing, so if you come to Wike now, the issues on the table. We can argue about all of this until after the second coming. Simple question. Is there an election coming? Yes. Should the PDP strive to win it? Yes. PDP, you see, when you talk about PDP, it's not on this program. I've been part of PDP campaigns since 2003. 2003,
yeah, I mean, you served in the same government of
2011
PDP
up to 2014, but I'm not a member of the party. They will come, they assume I am. So I know that party in, out. The difference, well, APC is mostly, I say APC is terrible, but it only improved on the record of PDP in being terrible, actually. It's just worse than PDP. They have a lot in common in terribleness. But on the substantive issue here, I have no interest in the debate.
Don't you think Wike
My interest is if you want to win elections, these are the things you should be doing. That's a question for the PDP to ask itself. I'm not here for any partisan engagement.
No, but as a political strategist,
yes.
Would you say that the party should do something about the Wike issue
Wike,
quickly? Very quickly.
It should have been done before now, but you see, Wike has already gotten traction. But the judge has come to speak. Jerry Ghana, the elders of the party, so you have a thoroughly divided house. It shouldn't get worse. Find out whatever it is. And there are people who can reach. What's the whole point of political strategy and engagement? There must be somebody you listen to. How come we haven't found who you listen to? How come we allow you to go public all the time?
And what's wrong with the former president of the party? Former President Olusegun Obasanjo, former President Goodluck Jonathan.
Where are they?
These people who benefited
here,
from the
right?
PDP. Why are they not saying something about what's going on in this party? I mean,
so, and you see, we can stay here and actually argue. When I say argue, not necessarily convince anybody, give reasons why we hold the positions we hold. If you talk about political strategies, about political results, and results in politics must be measurable, cohesion, group solidarity, ideological unity, not necessarily uniformity. We can quarrel, but we follow the same single trajectory. Now, all of these are missing. That's what PDP should find and put. I don't care about their quarrel with Wike. Look at Wike's revelations, and look at the average disposition of Nigerians. Do you think Nigerians will believe more those who are denying what Wike said and what he... Why should they allow this to be happening? The perception that, oh, he's telling it, more and more will come out.
And I come back to you. Your candidate, who calls himself a unifier, has been put in the eye of the storm now. He's been seen as a divider-in-chief, according to the All Progressives Congress. Don't you think that's a big slap on Atiku's face?
Just a difference, my friend here. We need to seclude the PDP and hear some Wike. For the first time in our campaign council, we have the 4 directorates that are being clearly run by Southerners. The chairman of the council is the governor of Akwa Ibom State. People are just speaking on who is the director general. Maybe because they're coming from a system where they run a pseudo kind of military arrangement. It shows there is a consensus going around on how to build traction towards the election.
Yeah.
For the first time in our NEC meeting, you would have seen that the trajectory of the campaign has changed. It is not top-heavy anymore. It is more pulling boot heavy.
Very warm welcome back from the break. Now, the All Progressives Congress has constituted its presidential campaign council for the 2023 general election. The council list, which comprises about 422 members, conspicuously has missing Vice President Yemi Osibanjo, who contested against Tinubu at the presidential primaries. But ex-Minister of Transportation Rotimi Amechi, who became the first runner-up at the primary election, was named Special Advisor on Infrastructure. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari is the chairman of the campaign council. But a party statement says President Buhari asks that Osibanjo and the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, be left out of the campaigns to help run the government. Meanwhile, the main opposition People's Democratic Party has also released its own list. Now, in this comprehensive list of its presidential campaign council with 520 members, we have Governor Nyesom Wike's camp being featured prominently. Remember that they had said that they were not going to be part of the campaign effort. Now, the presidential campaign council is led by Governor of Akwa Ibom State as chairman, that's Udom Emmanuel, while Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State, who belongs to the Wike camp, is the vice chairman of the campaign organization. And Governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, is the vice chairman North, while Aminu Tambuwal, Governor of Sokoto State, is the director general of the campaign council. Well, I still have with me here Professor Dr. Oke Ikechukwu, who is a political strategist and analyst. And then, of course, we also have Chijioke Agu, who is a former commissioner in Enugu State. And then, of course, we'll be having Ali joining us later when we're able to establish the signal from our offsite studio. He's the Deputy Director in charge of Media and Publicity at the All Progressives Congress Presidential Campaign Council that was just announced earlier on Saturday morning. I come back to you, Chijioke. Let's talk about your campaign council now that has been put in place. Do you think that these people from Wike's camp, including Wike himself, will be received warmly if they do agree to eventually change their minds and work? Although we still see Wike prevaricating and saying that he wouldn't want to be part of it, including members of his team. Would they be trusted at any point?
Well, like I've always told you, the PDP is the only organic party in Nigeria. Nobody owns the PDP. So the much they are, the merrier. Definitely, Wike is one of our star boys in the PDP, the governor of Rivers State. For any time he decides that he wants to join the train, I'm sure the party will clearly welcome him with open hands. What the party has decided is that they're not going to allow his distractions to stop the campaign. Nobody has asked him not to be a member. We're actually patiently waiting for him to come for inauguration on Wednesday. But if in effect he doesn't come, or some people don't show up, just like so many other people might not be able to show up for different reasons, right? It doesn't mean that the campaign loses its traction. We want to get into that field to be able to prepare to give Nigerians the change they actually desire. The change they wanted 7.5 years ago has proven not to be a change. Today we have all this, so many myriad of issues facing the country. I don't have to enumerate them here, everybody knows it. So I even begin to wonder what the APC, what mantra would they be campaigning on? It's an opportunity for Nigeria to salvage itself, get itself back into the Committee of Nations, strengthen our economy, and still become the giant of Africa we've always been. Okay. And I believe that the candidacy of Atiku Abubakar provides that platform for Nigeria today to make that required change.
All right, Dr. K, do you think that if by chance Wike and his team of political strategists do agree to be part of the campaign, that they will be trusted by the Central PDP Campaign Council?
Not very likely, because even the suspicion will grow stronger that, look, these guys have come in, finally they see they are not succeeding, so they've come to pretend to be part of this campaign in order to wreck it.
So what should they do?
Distrust will drive it further. But let's look at the feasibility of the configurations they are putting in place. One of the big thunderbolts that hit both APC and PDP is the fact that the elections are taking place next year. Since 1999, our president has been emerging by what I consider to be a form of political burglary. You finish your primaries, in a few weeks or months, elections take place. You move to one place, you say you're having a rally, meanwhile you use bus to carry people there, they are paid. That's why by the time you come, they get there for 8, by the time you come, they are tired. You shout PDP PCC, nobody responds. Now, what am I leading up to? The number of months between the conclusion of the primaries and the elections will definitely blow open the underbelly of anybody who does not know how to run a campaign.
Wow.
Yeah, PDP has to sit up. What had been its campaign crisis? Let me take the one of 2007. The campaign was fully constituted council. Within a short time, they couldn't, I don't want to go into detail, but something that was needed for the campaign wasn't available.
Yeah.
Another team of 47 was set up, headed by Onyema Ugochukwu. In the end, how many people did that job? Go and ask Chief Ugochukwu, he's alive. Onyema Ugochukwu, myself, Garba Shehu, who is working with the president, and Chris Mama, from a room in Bullet House. All the adverts, everything. Now, what am I leading up to? PDP should replicate the kind of campaign that happened under Obasanjo, where you had Obasanjo leading one train, Audobe, one train, vice president, one, then you're going to look for the people.
Okay. So we'll have to bring in Ali into the conversation now. He's just been appointed a deputy director at the APC Presidential Campaign Council in the Media and Publicity Directorate. We must start by congratulating you on this new feat. So let's talk about the composition of your campaign council before we go on to the issues we've been discussing here. What do you think yourself and members of your team are bringing to the table, and how this is supposed to galvanize the conversation on who the next president of Nigeria should be, and of course promoting your candidate from the APC?
Well, you can see that it's reflective of the variegated nature of the Nigerian population. You say everybody is represented there. You go through the campaign list, you see all Nigerians are there from all walks of life. Everybody is represented. And we hope that it will be one cohesive process. And devoid, of course, there will be, it's work in progress. But the list, like you say, is all encompassing. That's why it took a while before it became public. And we're optimistic that we cruise to victory. Okay.
And now, do you by chance have anything to say about the happenings in the main opposition before we go to the other story we have here? I mean, what do you make of Atiku Abubakar's handling of the issues in the PDP? I mean, the APC has already described him as a divider-in-chief, that is unable to unite his party. And so calling himself a unifier may not just be the right thing, because he won't be able to unify Nigerians.
I think the discussants have done great justice to what's going on in the opposition party. Both speakers, I've listened to them attentively, and they have done justice to what's going on in the PDP. And I hope they put their act together, because without robust opposition, you are as good as the opposition. If the opposition is in disarray, the citizen will not get the best. What I mean, if the opposition is in disarray, ordinarily, I am not happy that the opposition is so much in disarray because of the in-house conflict, which has lingered, has festered, and they are unable to resolve it. Because if they don't do that, ultimately it's going to affect the quality of the campaign we're going to run, and it's going to affect ultimately governance, because it's only when the best of ideas clash, then the best emerges. So I hope they put their house together and then give us a run for our money. This is what I hope.
Okay, we'll also have to move on to other issues now. At his farewell speech to the United Nations General Assembly on Wednesday, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari vowed to leave a legacy of free and fair elections and uphold democracy. His comments come as West Africa saw a rise in the number of coups in recent years, and with the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres declaring last September as one that military coups came back on the continent, and most recently Guinea's military junta launched a violent verbal attack on ECOWAS, calling the West African bloc a disgrace, in quote. Here's a quick look at Buhari's speech at the UN, which is the last by him.
Terrorism. The danger of escalation of the war in Ukraine further justifies Nigeria's resolute calls for a nuclear-free world and a universal arms trade treaty, which are also necessary measures to prevent global human disasters. In this regard, we must find quick means to reach consensus on the nuclear non-proliferation treaty with related commitments by nuclear weapon states. I remain firmly convinced that the challenges that have come so sharply into focus in recent years and months emphasize the call by Nigeria and many other member states for the reform of the Security Council and other United Nations agencies. We need more effective and representative structure to meet today's demands that have since outgrown a system designed for the very different world that prevailed at its foundation in 1945. Change is long overdue.
Well, President Muhammadu Buhari there in his closing speech as Nigeria's president. This is the last that he's ever going to be presenting at the UN General Assembly, where he talked about a lot of things. And of course, I come back to you again, Ali. What do you make of President Muhammadu Buhari's statement that he's going to entrench a process of free, fair, transparent and credible elections before he leaves office?
Well, let's begin. I am enamored by this because let's begin with the Electoral Act. I think with that piece of legislation, you will see that the president is determined to bequeath a legacy of credible election, because everything begins with the law. And we have a law now, and you can see that the law, if fully adhered to, it has taken care of a lot of things. So you begin from that, and then you look at the process of election. For example, the decision now to have electronic transmission of result, that would go a long way, tremendously alter the course of history, the course of our electoral process. So if the president says that he wants to leave that, I think we've seen him walking that talk already. At least National Assembly, the National Parliament, the Electoral Act 2022 has taken care of a lot of things, a lot of other things. And the rest is the attitude of politicians, all politicians across parties, all the politicians involved in the process. Ultimately, if we then, they are the ones now, the honor is on them now to respect the provisions of the law. So yes, I'm very optimistic that the president will leave this legacy, and a lot of us are upbeat about it. But then, like I said, it's up to politicians now. We have a basis for that optimism. That is the Electoral Act. The law is there. And if the provisions are respected by all politicians across board, and then we'll be home and dry. And I'm sure Nigerians will get a very good deal at the end of the day.
All right, and I come to you, Professor Okeke-Chukwu. Let's talk about President Buhari and his last opportunity here. What will you say has been his gains at the UN General Assembly all these years he's been in power? What more can we try to drive as a Nigerian conversation at the UN General Assembly, especially for the next president that will be coming?
Well, I'm not sure what the gains are, but what I will say is that his statement about wanting to leave a legacy of free and fair elections should provide impetus for international actors in the political space who are interested in bequeathing a stable Nigeria to the rest of the world. So this last thing coming from him can be described as, yes, it's a strong point. Let's take him up on it. Let's help Nigeria. And already as pointed out, the processes the INEC as currently led is putting in place, it will really take something extraordinary for us not have free and fair elections if those processes are left intact. But as for long-term gains, what the government has done, no. I don't want to go in that direction because I'll be forced to ask, where are the heads of state? At the time he headed for that out to the United Nations, the major world leaders were in England. And that's supposed to be his audience. So I don't want to go in that direction at all.
Well,
the question I would then be tempted to ask is, what did you go there to do? So
well,
I'll rather focus on the positive gain that this statement should be put on marble and used and enforced by all those who love Buhari and who love this country.
Oh.
Okay, he has said he's going to give a legacy. Please, let's make sure it happens. But United Nations, I want to come and speak on this program. Some Nasambo is out. The studio is shut. I'm talking in the corridor. There are cleaners listening to me, so you can't say there was nobody.
Well, I mean, I read Dr. Ruben Abati's column earlier in the week on that issue. I mean, where you had President Buhari at the UN General Assembly and, of course, Vice President Yemi Osibanjo representing the country at the funeral of the late Queen Elizabeth and all of that. Yeah, you've raised that point, but I mean, considering how important this is as his last outing, I think maybe he just decided to just present himself there thinking that's more important. But let's come to you, Chijioke. When President Buhari says he's going to leave a legacy of free, fair and credible elections, do you in the PDP believe it?
You see, these are the reasons why I must correlate my friend Aliyu on his onerous task in the APC. It's actually a very difficult job, and I wish him all the very best selling a bad product. We have the president reiterating all the time that he wants to leave a legacy of free and fair election. Coming from the PDP, the very first party that has conceded power in an election, I want to congratulate INEC for continuing to strengthen the process, the BVAS system, uploading of results and all that. These are all very good developments. The sign of the Electoral Act by the president is commendable. It is too quick in the day to begin to say, yes, we want it to actually be a legacy. Not with outbursts we've had during the week of fake registration of voters in several states of the country. The INEC says they are cleaning up the process. We do encourage INEC to be able to sieve out all these things that are trying to truncate this process. Nigerians are dying for progress. Nigerians are dying for effective leadership. Nigerians want to see a leader they truly elected. I want to see a country where a loser will congratulate the winner because he saw that the process was fair. I encourage all Nigerians to ensure that the president lives up to his words.
Okay.
That will truly be his last legacy as the president of Nigeria.
All right, we'll go on a quick break now. But when we come back, Ali, I want you to respond to what Chijioke said earlier. I mean, because as a smart one against your party, we'll now go on this short break. And when we come back, the conversation continues. Stay with us. Welcome back from the break. And now, Ali, I just want to give you a right of reply, sort of, to talk about what Chijioke said here, that you seem to have a difficult task ahead of you and that you would be selling a bad product, according to him. I'm quoting him now.
Well, I don't know what bad product he's talking about, because What product are he talking specifically about? Because we have a president who has won back-to-back election. He's serving out his last term. And then we have a household name now running for the presidency who has, we know he's the market, I mean, it's a household name. So I don't know which bad product he's talking about. Is it the outgoing president who has served meritoriously for two consecutive winning election back-to-back? Or the one who is waiting to take over, who has been accepted nationwide? So when he says bad product, I don't know, maybe he's talking of a different party, certainly not the APC.
Okay, well, that's well, Chijioke, you need to clarify what you meant by that bad product, because he says he's unclear about that.
Well, it's actually possible that he won't understand what it means, because the APC has found itself in a very difficult position, coming from one product that is bad to other product, trying to enter other product that is bad. So he doesn't know which of the products is a bad product. I can forgive my friend.
Well, I think I need to bring him Prof here as an arbiter. Prof, you need to be an arbiter on this matter.
My position here is simple. Since there's some controversy regarding the identity or nature of the bad product, with clearance from Sumna, I will set up a committee to identify the byproduct and then get back to us.
All right. I hope that's fine with you, Adi.
Well, I think, Professor, here, you expect that a member of the opposition would all the time, you will not see the silver lining clearly, because he is trying to also market his own product. So I can understand that. And you see, I can understand also when you've lost election consecutively and then the prospect of losing another election is so high. You can see it clearly.
Silver lines after 7.5 years.
you understand. So it's understandable now.
Lines after 7.5 years. We're still looking to the future.
Well, let me.
Let's allow him to just react to that.
So it's understandable. Sometimes when you are still in the, you're still trying to process how you get to that state that you've lost election consecutively, back to back, then the prospect of losing another election and then looms large in the horizon, then you know every other thing is a bad product. So it's understandable.
Looks like the bad product is not only in one party. That's what
okay. I feel the pain.
Okay, well, let's just allow Prof. just very quickly before we move on to the next topic.
Let me also take a position on the matter of bad product. If you look at what's going on in the PDP today, and the party's management of its crisis, and particularly the candidate's perceived handling of the issue, I can describe him as a bad product. That's a personal view. If you also look at the APC, and you look at in my assessment, the performance of the government for 7 years in the areas of security, the amount of land we've lost to bandits, the fact that a train that cost billions is no longer working, the fact that you can't fly to Kaduna and there's only one road, and that road goes all the way to the north, and that road is bad in strong sections, and we are borrowing ourselves under the table. That can be described as bad product. Then in terms of the candidates, the same point can be made. So,
we just have to leave this and move on to the last topic.
Find us a good product. We've had enough.
Well, gentlemen, asking Charles sets to begin his reign as head of the constitutional monarchy in the United Kingdom. The UK had invited about 100 heads of government to the state's funeral of its longest-serving monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, on Monday. Now, the royal family instructed all government leaders to take a bus prepared for them to Westminster Abbey, the state funeral venue. But Joe Biden, the president of the United States of America, was the only world leader who arrived for the Queen's funeral in his personal motorcade, creating mild uproar as African leaders were conveyed in buses to the event. Now, what does this speak about UK's perception of Africa? And I throw that to you, Ali. What do you make of that?
Hello, I missed that. Make of what?
Of, the African leaders being taken inside a bus to the Queen's funeral and all of that.
Yes, well, you see, unfortunately, people may not understand how you have to look at the history of the monarchy itself, the British Empire, and then the system and the rituals associated with burial of royalty. Unless you understand this, and even back home in African tradition, how you bury entire royalty is totally, there are certain rituals and mystic associated with the burial of royalty, which people may find very weird. And in the case of Britain, what happened, the treatment given to African leaders especially cannot be isolated with the nature of the British monarchy itself, which is that of inclusion. And this is so inclusive, so exclusive that even bloodline are protected. You understand? You can see at the heart of it, if you want to be extreme, you can say deep down there is this underlying racism, if you like. And African countries, especially former colonies of Britain, they still, even their leadership suffer this, if you like, colonial mentality, if you like. I don't want to use that expression, but deep down, look at how Nigeria, for example, went on to overdrive when the Queen passed away. For example, we flew our flags at half-mast, and to me, that was, needless, because Nigeria had rid itself of British influence by 1963 when it became a republic. So it amazed me how the Nigerian government went into overdrive, and did to so many other African countries. But you look at it, the Queen of England, for example, is the sovereign head. Sovereign head of so many countries, about 16 of them, called in the realm of the, Commonwealth. So you expect that unless you understand this, African leaders, they have themselves to blame, because if they know the understanding is so exclusive what they do there during interment. So it's understandable until these underlying forces, you may not get it right.
All right, Prof, I'll have to just bring you in quickly. We're losing time, 30 seconds. What do you make of that? The complaints on social media and elsewhere, even governments saying that, how could you have a vice president alongside other presidents of Africa being taken in a bus to such a venue, while the US president and some other privileged ones had to, use
my
their
response
vehicles?
is simple. There's a difference between qualitative and numerical equality. You buy a phone, touch phone, for 7,000. I have another phone for 920,000. Numerically, they are the same. There are two phones, but qualitatively, they are not the same. So let's not kid ourselves. Even if there's what you might call. So we can be angry because we are Nigerians, but let's also acknowledge the status of nations. That's where we go to borrow money from, isn't it? Those are the people who are asking to come and help us when we're in trouble. Then when their president comes, you want to carry who are you? How much are you owing? What's the state of security in your country? Let's change the subject.
All right, let's go to Chijioke before
Well, first of all, I must not fail to debunk the assertion by Prof that Atiku Abubakar is a bad product. The way he has handled the PDP crisis shows statesmanship.
Well, we're talking about the Queen.
Coming back to the Queen's issue.
Very quickly.
I also go back to my friend Aliyu. It shows the flip-flops of the APC that they don't even know what their policy arrangements on the bearer of the Queen. Now, what happened with the African leaders did not only happen to African leaders. Let's get that point very straight. We all knew the security implications of having 500 world leaders driving to the church with their vehicles. The British government just had to make a plan of how to ferry people.
Yeah, but why was there an exception?
You will also understand. You also understand. I also give you. Let me tell you why I don't have any problem with that. In the service in the church, the African countries and the Commonwealth were seated before the President of America. Why are we not talking about that? What we're talking about just mere going into a bus to go to a venue.
Well, you have a very strong point. And that's why we would have to end.
One last point. Congratulations, please. Congratulations to Aliyu.
Okay, Ali, actually, Ali.
This is how the base you run between the parties.
Exactly.
They need this man. The APC should send away that rowdy rabble who have neither argument nor dignity.
Ali is a good fix.
It's absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Congrats, man.
So a lot of congratulations going to you, Ali, for your appointment as the Deputy Director in charge of Media and Publicity at the APC Presidential Campaign Council. Well, we hope to see a campaign that is full of issues and not, the most slinging and all of that we've been hearing now, seeing in the past weeks as the campaigns begin on Wednesday. Well, we must thank you, gentlemen. Professor Okeke Chukwu is a political strategist and analyst, and of course, he's been with us here. We must thank you so much. Also, Chijioke Agu, former commissioner in Enugu State, and of course, Ali, the newly minted Deputy Director at the APC Presidential Campaign Council. We wish you many successes ahead, and thank you for joining us on the program. That's how it's been on this week. We hope to have you join us next week when we review the big stories in the outgoing week again. I'm Sam Nasambo. Thank you for watching.